Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. Now a really interesting follow-up that we're doing today, and a follow-up is needed. So we did a video. I mean, the way Grim Reapers work is you guys, the viewers, ask us a question. You say, look, go and test this out. Is this possible in real life? Is it possible in DCS? We go and try it and we come up with our answer. Now this one really posed some interesting questions. It's got a vast amount of responses for the amount of views. You've got 743 views on this, and like bottom holes, everyone has got an opinion. And some people know what they're talking about and some people don't know what they're talking about. An example is me. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I have a good feel for things, but I'm no aerodynamicist. Now, what we do have is a real aerodynamicist here. Say hello, Tate.
Hello.
What we're going to do is re-look at this video ever so quickly just to get the main question from it. Then we're going to have a look about problems we had modeling this in DCS World and how that would be different in a different type of simulator like X-Plane. And we're going to compare all those things together. First, just to refresh your memory.
He'll apply full forward stick and bottom rudder. Then, just as the enemy tries to compensate for the move, he'll pull hard back and boot top rudder. For a moment, the F-4 will depart or become uncontrollable and backflip.
Okay, so that was the move there. I know it's hard to see, it's old graphics and whatnot, but it's a full tumble in the pitch. I know he's got yaw in there as well, but it's and I've had a lot of people saying on the YouTube comments, oh, that's just a high G barrel roll. Which it's clearly not. At least it's not shown in here. In here it's shown a proper pitch tumble in here. So that's what we're looking at. And then we tried to replicate that in DCS World and we couldn't. Simply couldn't do that. You kind of get up to the vertical, you hit a big wall and you can no longer, the plane just refuses to tumble any further. And that's where we're starting off today. So Tate, not talking about simulators, just talking about real life at the moment. Do you think an F-4 Phantom could do that move? A full out of control tumble and a proper tumble in the pitch, not just spinning around, but full tumble in the pitch. Personally, I don't think it's possible because I think as soon as the plane gets completely 90 degrees normal to the airflow, I think it's the airflow is going to overcome the inertial kind of pitch of the plane. And like when a flanker hits the wall of air on a Cobra, it just stops. It doesn't go round any further. And that's what I think would happen, rather than it all tumbling all the way around, like in this picture. And all we've got to go on is this graphic here.
Realistically, I genuinely don't know, and I don't think anybody will.
Yes, absolutely, of course, yep.
This is probably a case, it's certainly not standard manoeuvre. In the documents for this plane, in the pilot's manual, they have what's called an out-of-control recovery, and that sort of out-of-control departure from the flight parameters, basically just the tumble, the diagram looks similar to what he's done. It's definitely not a standard procedure because this aircraft, like any other, can flat spin, and you certainly don't want to be doing it when you're in a sort of high-energy dogfight. If it was done, then it wasn't purposeful.
Roger. Yep, that's a very safe answer, Tate. I can tell when you're being politically correct. Yep, okay. Well, I've put my case forward. None of us know. None of us will ever know, but that's the thing. Now, what we're going to look at is, if we go over to this, Harry, Mr. Mac 2, has kindly sent us this video here, and I'm just going to show you. Now, this is an X-Plane. Where are we on now? X-Plane 11. I've been off X-Plane for a while.
Yeah, about X-Plane 11.
Okay, let's just stand by and watch this.
Here it comes.
Near as damn it. I know you. Sorry for this. You know, you guys watching a stream. I know you're a few seconds behind, but just take my word for it. That is almost what he showed there. A kind of out of control, not fully pitched, but pretty much a pitch tumble. Let's watch that again. You cannot do this in DCS.
Wow, I think that is doable. I don't claim to be a fighter pilot or any sort of pilot at any kind, but it is.
That's as close as a kind of a tumble as when does it recover
doable.
After that?
I think with the right person in the flight deck, it's definitely.
Yeah, so it just goes out of control there, and you just can't do that. You could do something kind of similar in the Christian Eagle, but I'm pretty sure that's programmed specially to be able to tumble. None of the other kind of fighter planes will do it, and that comes to why, which is, I think, the crux of this then. So we've got two simulators. We've got DCS World and we've got X-Plane. Now, I started on X-Plane before I found DCS World. It's just, whatever reason, it's just the one that I found first. And X-Plane is a completely different simulator to DCS World. Neither's really better. They're just very different. If we look at X-Plane first, it's a aerodynamic simulator. It is there to simulate aerodynamics. From that has grown this massive, engine with pretty graphics and fighter planes in it and stuff. But that's, it was there to test aerodynamics, like kind of almost like simulate a wind tunnel, wasn't it, Tate? That's the whole idea. And it's used in universities, as Tate will tell you in a bit, to simulate models. The way I can prove that is because I can go and get this F-4 in Explain 11. On my other channel, I've got videos of doing this, and I can stretch the wings, and I can pull the tail back, I can elongate the nose, I can make the intakes bigger, and stuff like that, and it'll model that perfectly in 3D, perfectly aerodynamically model that, which doesn't happen in DCS, and that's because it's fully modeling mathematically the aerodynamics of this plane. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are it makes it, what I'd say, super realistic flight model to an extent. However, it's hard to make a massive combat sim like this. It's hard to have lots of planes flying around because so much computation is being done for this model. Now if we jump over to DCS is very different. The DCS ethos is, Nick Gray said, make me a world, let me fill that world full of S-300 SAMs and fuel tankers and planes and 50 humans all flying around together and let them all interact. Now, if you're going to do that, the DCS model, you can't do all this aerodynamic maths at the same time to the level that X-Plane does it. They're just simply not compatible, right? Unless we've all got NASA supercomputers, which we don't. You can either have one or the other. One that's got to be optimized. So DCS is not going to have this full aerodynamic modeling like X-Plane is, and we kind of accept that. The way I assume, and I don't want to get myself in trouble, I am assuming at this point it's doing it, the DCS modeling by data tables and some basic modeling. I'll pass it over to Tate for his how he thinks it works in a minute. And I know I've jibber-jabbered a bit there, but the reason I think we can model the F-4 Tumble in Explain is because it is a full three-dimensional, aerodynamically modelled simulator, where DCS isn't. It's partially modelled and populated with values. It's a different way of doing it to suit what DCS World is. That's my point I wanted to come to at the end of this video. It's the reason I wanted to make this video, why we saw the inability to tumble in DCS. You just hit a wall of air and the simulator says, no, I'm not going to go any further. That's where I'm programmed to go. Whereas this one here says, okay, yep, this is all possible. Here's the weight. Here's the aerodynamic forces at this point, that point, that point, and that point. Yes, I will let it happen. That's my theory. Now I'm going to pass over to Tate, who's more knowledgeable than me, and to really cover the same question, the difference between the tumble in Explain and DCS, and how DCS and Explain works.
Yeah, I mean, you've pretty much wrapped it up there. Like you said, Explain is mostly used for professional training. Professional pilots will use it. We use it in the university, so there's a big room that you can go into with a full simulator there, a big screen on the wall, and you can go in with a plane design and you can plug it in and you can inevitably crash just after takeoff. In things like DCS, they're going to use what's called a state space form matrix. So this is the what we call a matrix or state space form of decoupled linearized longitudinal motion. This is how an aircraft reacts in the pitch axis. We're not going to go too far into it because, quite frankly, there's no point. It's taken me 3 years of university, or 2 years of university at this point, to even vaguely understand what one of these means. And you plug in all the numbers, and for example, XU and XW will be a certain number to do with. For a Boeing 777, it might be something different to an F-4 Phantom, and this is how you will model it in the game. So, for example, we were talking about stability control in a past video. Mm-hmm. This will be very different. So, for example, when you turn your stability control off in your Su-27, this state space matrix will go from the stable state space matrix for the Su-27 with your stability control, and then it will switch over into a different state space matrix, and all these numbers will be different, and there'll be some wonderful things that happen. But that's the basics of how DCS probably, and I say probably because we pretty much will never know, but that's how DCS will probably model things like pitch, yaw, and roll control.
And that's it, really. That's it. That's all we wanted to show. Again, that's our thinking. We will never be able to prove it, but I think most people are going to agree with this. Just to reiterate, before everyone kicks off and says, oh, why haven't they modelled DCS properly, and why have they modelled X-Plane properly? Well, like I said, you can't have the X-Plane engine with a full world of covered by S300s and radars and stuff like that is simply not compatible with the DCS type way of doing things. Hence, the DCS has to have a simplified aerodynamic engine. You can have one or the other. I invite your thoughts on that. I don't think anyone's really going to disagree, but we'll see what you think. Anything, my boys, you want to add before we sign off on that?
Nope, not for me.
Beautiful. I hope that's useful. See you later.